Kinoshita Kazuya was an useless, ugly loser who got dumped by his girlfriend but couldn't get over it. However, things took a drastic change when he found a rental app that brought him closer to the person who would change his life forever. Kazuya was in college, living the time of his life, proudly declaring he had a girlfriend, but things took a drastic turn as she abruptly broke up with him as she found someone else. The shock left him devastated, as she was his first girlfriend, and their relationship lasted only for a month. The pain of rejection hit him hard, and he began to reflect on how much of a loser he was when he remembered how he could not even hold hands with her, which was the bare minimum for a couple. His heartbreak deepened when he discovered she had blocked him on social media, a clear sign she had moved on with her life. His mind started spiraling into torment as he imagined her being intimate with her new boyfriend. Anger and grief all combined to make him even more tormented, exposing his ugly and terrible state. Kazuya, in need of any diversion, came across the Rent a Girlfriend application. He was enticed to give it a shot, thinking it would calm his heart because it offered the prospect of a dreamy time with a selected girlfriend for a small cost. He met up with Mizuhara Chizuru, a pure and refined high-class girlfriend, at the station and was instantly struck by her beauty. Mizuhara's charm and attractiveness were undeniable, and Kazuya found himself captivated by her. He soon forgot about his ex until he had to pay her. That was when he realized how much of a loser he was and wanted to off himself. They went to the aquarium, where she seemed attracted to his vast knowledge of fishes which no one cared about, and as he navigated his conflicting emotions, he began to appreciate her dedication to her role. The night came to an end, and they held hands, which he had never experienced in his miserable life. He went home feeling special, thinking he had to be the only one who she had held hands with until he found out it was just her normal routine and holding hands was not a big deal, making him feel stupid. But it was too much for his tiny brain to understand. He booked another date with her to vent his frustration, which made him look like a clown as he was broke, but used his college allowance to prove a point which he was going to lose. As they arrived at the aquarium, he realized how she had prepared for the date, and he questioned the authenticity of their interactions, as he felt that her behavior was just a professional act, which got him frustrated, and he ended up venting his feelings in public, accusing her of toying with his heart for money while sounding like a little girl. She had to take him out of the aquarium and lashed out at him as she had had enough of his childish tantrum. She reminded him that their relationship was purely transactional, also making him aware that he had agreed to the terms of her organization, so she could not understand his clowning. A phone call informing Kazuya that his grandmother had collapsed broke the tension, prompting him to rush to the hospital, leaving Mizuhara behind. Still, she followed him anyway because their date had not yet ended. At the hospital, Kazuya's family gathered around his grandmother, who downplayed the severity of her condition. Amidst the family discussions, Kazuya reflected on his earlier behavior and the way he treated Mizuhara. His grandmother's condition served as a stark reminder of what truly mattered in life, leading him to reassess his priorities. His grandmother wanted to know who the girl he brought over was, as she knew he had been a virgin his whole life, having little to no female interactions. He declared her his girlfriend, and although Mizuhara was angry with him at first, she composed herself in front of his family, like the perfect girlfriend she was. His grandmother wanted to brag to her grandma friends in the hospital that her son was able to score a hot chick. But Mizuhara did not want anything to do with that, as her grandma was in the hospital, and she did not want her to find out about her job. She tried to bail, but was too late as the grandma squad came with full speed. Left with no options, she and Kazuya hid on a bed while covering themselves. As the coast was cleared, he tried to take advantage of the situation but was blatantly rejected by her. Their operation was a bust, as they were later caught. But as he wanted to clear the air about their relationship, Mizuhara stopped him as they played along with the farce they called their relationship. A few moments later, when they left the hospital, Kazuya contemplated his experience with the Rent a Girlfriend service, and he acknowledged that while it provided a temporary escape from his heartbreak, it also exposed his vulnerabilities and insecurities. He realized that she was just doing her job, and his frustration was misdirected. He sincerely apologized for his previous outburst and thanked her for her efforts. Mizuhara, though initially wary, appreciated his honesty, and by the end of the date, he felt a sense of closure regarding his breakup, as his time with her had helped him heal, not by forgetting his ex, but by learning to navigate his emotions more healthily. He reflected on the whirlwind of emotions he had experienced over the past few days, as he understood that moving on from a breakup was not about finding a replacement, but about finding oneself again. The next morning, he had a renewed sense of self-worth and a better understanding of his feelings. He looked forward to the future with hope and determination, as he was about to enjoy his college life to the fullest. That was when he had a fateful encounter with Mizuhara in college. Kazuya was shocked as he had a brief encounter with a girl who looked pretty much like Mizuhara. But he was doubtful it was her because the odds of her going to the same college with him seemed too good to be true. As she went along, he kept ogling at her, which made his friends curious as they thought something was going on between them. But he debunked it, disappointing them as they were in the mood for some gossip like a bunch of old women. Later that day, he was still trying to figure out who the girl he saw earlier was, as he was feeling conflicted. At that point, Mizuhara, the same girl he had met earlier, dragged him into a room and threatened him to keep her identity a secret from everyone, and to act as though they were strangers whenever they saw each other, as she did not want to be anywhere near his smelly butt. As he got home, he realized that he was neighbors with Mizuhara, and this creeped her out as she began to think he was stalking her, which was not far-fetched as he was a pervy leech. Later on, Kazuya received a call from his grandmother, who was eager to see him and Mizuhara together, unaware of the true nature of their relationship. This created a sense of urgency and panic for him, who now had to navigate the situation without revealing the truth to his grandmother. He pleaded with Mizuhara to pretend to be his girlfriend one more time to appease his grandmother. She refused, citing the user agreement of her job, which forbade such personal interactions. Despite his pleas, she remained as firm as her chest and focused on her own priorities, which left him in a tight spot as he struggled to manage the expectations of his grandmother. Kazuya's grandmother arrived at his messy apartment, as she made sharp observations about his living conditions and the improbability of him having a girlfriend, while Kazuya scrambled to keep up the facade of his relationship with Mizuhara. This drove him to try his luck once more as he tried to persuade Mizuhara one more time to come over, but she rejected him. Left with no choice, he decided to be a man and spill the beans, but before he could, his grandmother already had an idea of what was going on, as she knew a top class like Mizuhara could not last with a loser like him. His grandmother was happy regardless of whether they had broken up, because she had never seen him with a girl and began to worry for him. Mizuhara chose to visit after being moved by Kazuya's grandmother's remarks, which made his grandmother very pleased. As his grandmother left, he came to an agreement with Mizuhara that he could rent her every Wednesday to visit his grandmother. The next morning, he started his day on an awful note, as he wished to not come across his ex in college, but that was not the case as he bumped into his ex, Mami, and began to freak out like a little girl because she looked pretty and he did not know what to say to her. But it did not matter anyway, as she did not want to spend too long with him. His friends made fun of him as they caught him staring at her as she walked by and advised him to forget about her as she was way out of his league. Later on that day, he was in a terrible state and was ready to grab his tissue for something sus, but Mizuhara arrived in the nick of time for their scheduled meeting with his grandmother. After their meeting with his grandmother, they held hands, and he could never get used to that. Unfortunately for them, Kazuya's friend caught him, and he was scared they would be able to recognize her. But her Superman getup seemed to have worked on them, as they could not recognize she was the one they met in college. But as he felt humiliated, he used the opportunity to declare Mizuhara as his girlfriend. They were shocked, as they could not imagine Kazuya scoring a hottie like Mizuhara. They apologized and invited them over to a mixer, which Mizuhara did not want to go to, but Kazuya was feeling like showing her off, so he agreed to go with them. As they arrived at the mixer, Kazuya was surprised to see his ex, and Kaiba apologized, as he did not know that she would be there. The room began to feel awkward as he thought of the situation he was in as hell and wanted to bounce like yesterday, but he could not leave Mizuhara alone. He went to the toilet, and as he did, some sus thought overcame him as he recalled Mami saying she had moved on. As he got back, he saw that Mami came over to his seat and wondered why she was there, but she insisted she wanted to get to know more about his girlfriend. She began to say horrible things she experienced while they were dating, and he could not say anything against her as she was a simp, so Mizuhara decided to step up for him. As their argument escalated, he humiliated Mizuhara by defending his ex, since she was not his real girlfriend. She left because she was disappointed in him, and Kaiba told him to go after her, but he didn't, as he had more bottles to wash down his sorrows. After having a few shots, he was wasted, but Mami was there to offer a shoulder, as she was happy that he took her side even though his girlfriend tried to defend him, which she could never do while she was with him and felt like a disappointment as a girlfriend. She offered to take him to her place if he was okay with it, and his eyes shone brightly after hearing those words. Mami asked Kazuya to stop by her place as it was just around the corner, but this caught him off guard as he thought she had a boyfriend until she revealed that she lied about it because she was jealous of his pretty girlfriend, Mizuhara. His internal struggle was visible as he tried to navigate his feelings for Mami, but his internal monologue revealed his deep-seated desire to be close to Mami, despite knowing that their relationship was fraught with complications. As the night progressed, Kazuya's emotions became increasingly conflicted as he grappled with his desire to visit Mommy's place, only to be thwarted by the presence of her brother's friends who were at her home. This disappointment was compounded by his realization that Mommy's invitation might have been a genuine attempt to reconnect, further muddling his feelings as he cursed her brother. He found himself in a vulnerable position as he had taken more bottles than he could handle and struggled to maintain his composure. Mommy offered him water for him to sober up, a gesture of care that contrasts sharply with her earlier deception. This moment of tenderness was significant as it rekindled his longing for her. His thoughts became increasingly desperate while focused on her, as he imagined other men vying for her affection, which he found unbearable. Through all of this chaos, his mind betrayed his contradictory desires as he thought of making the audacious decision to invite Mommy to his place, a move motivated by his need for her approval. He could not hold his feelings anymore, and he started to sprout out his degenerate thoughts. Mommy had to calm him down by patting his head like a dog and further rejecting him. As she insulted Mizuhara, he let her know she was not like that, as his eye had this sparked like a dog defending its owner, which she had never seen before, and this frightened her. He ran away, as he had embarrassed himself more than enough, and he realized how dumb he was for humiliating Mizuhara after making her follow through with all his biddings. As he got home, he went over to Mizuhara's place to apologize for all he had done, but as there was no answer coming from her apartment, he thought she was mad at him and felt it was justifiable. That was not the case, as she came over and told him he could do whatever he wanted as long as he rented her. He began to feel an outburst of emotion as he felt pathetic for still lingering onto his past with his ex. But Mizuhara made him realize that it was not a bad thing, as it showed how much he cared about her and offered her services if he needed company. It was the weekend, and Kazuya and the gang went out to the beach to create fond memories. He was surprised by the invitation, as he was not friends with the others and felt Mommy might not want his presence around. But funny enough, he was told that she was the one who requested he come over with them. He began to have more hope that there might still be a chance between them, reflecting his lonely tendencies. They wondered why he did not bring Mizuhara over, but he could not tell them she was running his wallet dry, so he came up with an excuse. As they arrived at the beach, Mommy met up with Kazuya as they caught up with some of their fond memories with each other when they were dating. From their first kiss to him wanting to have babies that would complete a football squad, as she tried to pressure him into breaking up with Mizuhara. He decided to tell her the truth, but was interrupted by his friends, and that was when he spotted Mizuhara, who was Ikenos at the time. He was scared they would find out who she was, but they were dumber than anyone would think, as her Superman getup proved reliable. She introduced herself to Kazuya like she had never met him before, while Mommy pried on him as she wanted to know what he was about to tell her, but he rebuked the conversion. He met up with Mizuhara in the changing room because he wanted to know what she was doing on the beach and wanted to clarify what she meant by she could keep him company while he was feeling down. She told him it was all part of her girlfriend act. He tried to make Mizuhara jealous, as he told her things were going great with Mommy. This made her pissed off, as she almost ate him alive, letting him know that even though the world froze, she would not have any sort of romantic feelings for him. Mommy came over to see him and wanted to know who he was speaking to, but he could not tell her as they would find out Ikenos was with him. He attempted to lie, but Mommy caught him, and before she could discover who he was talking to, Mizuhara appeared in a bikini, leaving everyone in awe with their jaws dropping. Mommy was overpowered by her bust, as she lost the battle before it had started. Mizuhara wanted to hang out with her friend and told Kazuya to come up with an excuse so she could leave, but Mommy did not allow her to have her way as she invited them to come over. They were surprised to see her, as they thought she would not make it, but Kazuya burdened Mizuhara with more lies. The question began to pile up, and he could not take it anymore, so he bailed like the scared cat and went to take a swim. He could not help but overhear all the boys praising her beauty and wishing they were her boyfriends, which made him realize how much of a burden he was to her. Mommy saw Kazuya and asked him to come over behind a rock as she was looking for her jewelry. When she tripped, Kazuya was there to catch her, acting like a gentleman, which he wasn't. In the heat of the moment, she kissed him, as it seemed that was her plan all along. Kazuya remembered when he first met Mommy. It was the springtime of April when he and his friends were waiting for a new girl, and she arrived with her bright and gentle nature that attracted Kazuya, who fell for her at first sight, but was exposed as a virgin. He could not bear to hold on to the feelings he had for her anymore, so he asked her out, and she accepted. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of their relationship, bringing a sense of joy and excitement to him. They went on their first date, and he told her how inexperienced he was as she was his first girlfriend, lowering more of his already low rep. This admission of inexperience made her happy as she told him they were the same. and he could not help but like her even more as he vowed to always be there for her, and to always make her happy like they were in some kind of fairy tale. He also remembered their first kiss together, and the world was looking all shining to him. At the beach, as Mommy kissed him, she explained that she could not hold herself anymore. He felt a rush of emotions and a sense of overwhelming joy as he realized how much she cared for him. The moment was etched in his memory as one of pure happiness, solidifying their bond even further, and she told him to act like nothing happened when they got back. But he couldn't, as he was surprised Mommy was that into a dimwit like him. He had thought it was all over for him when Mommy caught him with Mizuhara in the changing room, but he guessed it had the reverse effect. He was happy that he could finally get back with Mommy. He received a call from his grandma saying that she would be discharged as soon as they were done with all the tests, happy that she would finally be able to visit them whenever she wanted. He was happy that she was going to be discharged and felt bad for deceiving her all this time, so he decided to come clean and bring her a real girlfriend. The gang began to pry on Mizuhara about her living a lavish life in a mansion and wanted to see it. Mizuhara was expecting Kazuya to say something to them, but he was lost in thought. He then broke the news that he was breaking up with Mizuhara. Kaibe, angry with this news, punched his dumb face, as he knew it was all because he was simping on Mommy that he wanted to break up with Mizuhara. They exchanged blows with one another, as that was the only way they could resolve a problem like a bunch of middle school kids. As he went to the restroom, he met up with Mizuhara, who made him aware he did the right thing and that others would not understand since they did not know the full story. He told her that his grandma was getting discharged and that it would be the end of their Wednesday visits. She also revealed that her grandma was also going to be discharged and was proud of him for finally acting like a man. Later on, Mizuhara tried to get her stuff back, but her friends were waiting in the changing room where she kept it, and that was when Kaibe spotted her and called to have a little chat with her. Meanwhile, Kazuya got a detailed receipt listing the costs of the time he spent with her as a rental girlfriend, and he could not believe how much he had to spend on her as he was running on deep pocket, but realized it was nothing compared to all she had done for him. Then he spotted Kaibe and Mizuhara and decided to eavesdrop on them as he thought Kaibe might want to pull one over his head. Kaibe told her how much of a nitwit Kazuya was, as he was an optimistic fool who thought everything would go his way, and explained why that was also his redeeming feature, as he narrated a time when they were in junior high, and they had a flower project where he had messed up Kazuya's flower, and could not find the seeds to put out back in place, but just took the dirt and covered it up. Shockingly enough, his plant was the first to grow. Though it was a weed, he did not care, as he came earlier than others to water the plant and also had a journal on it, like a nerd. At the end of the day, his plant won the gold medal as he told her it was his foolish optimism that made him win. He knew she was a good one when she stood up for Kazuya in the mixer, and she assured him that Kazuya was also a great guy even though he was a fool most of the time. Kaibe's gesture of giving her the tickets showed Kazuya that he truly cared about their relationship and was willing to make an effort to mend things. This emotional moment solidified their bond as friends and strengthened their resolve to work through any challenges together. He was caught as he tried to sneak out, and Kaibe gave them some space to talk things out. She agreed to go on the cruise with him for Kaibe's sake, but assured him it would be the last. As they boarded the ferry, she was not herself, and Kazuya was concerned for her, but she told him she was fine and only needed a little rest. He got a call from Mommy, who seemed to be obsessed with a guy like Kazuya as she wanted to speak with him urgently, and even though he could not be with her at the time, she still pressured him. Mizuhara felt sick as she walked to the edge of the ferry and fell off, and without thinking, Kazuya jumped off to save her. Kazuya jumped into the ocean to save Mizuhara, even though he was not so great at swimming, as he reached out to her while underwater, showing us his Aquaman skills. As he struggled to keep them both afloat, his strength began to wane, and he feared they would both be lost to the depths. With one final burst of energy, Kazuya managed to push Mizuhara toward the surface before succumbing to exhaustion himself. When she finally woke up, she found out Kazuya had passed out as he tried to save her. She cried out for help, but no one was around, as it seemed like they were abandoned. She questioned why he would risk his life for her, even though she was not his real girlfriend. She was forced to perform CPR, and that was how he got saved, and immediately he began to misunderstand the CPR for a kiss like a fool. The Coast Guard soon arrived after the job was completed, and they and their friends were grumpy with them for falling off the ferry. Soon their brief moment on the beach came to an end as they were about to leave, and as Kazuya was coming by, they made fun of him and praised him at the same time for his heroic gesture. Mommy's cold reaction hurt Kazuya deeply, but he knew he had to focus on the task at hand. As he walked away, he couldn't shake off the feeling of disappointment in himself for not being able to explain the situation to Mommy. Kaibe told him to keep Mizuhara close, as she was his one-way ticket to not dying alone, and for him to risk his life for her meant that he loved her. Kazuya's heart raced with conflicting emotions as he pondered Kaibe's words, as he knew deep down that his feelings for Mizuhara ran deeper than he cared to admit. But he also couldn't deny the fear of rejection looming over him. He expressed his gratitude to Mizuhara once more as he got home, and as the day progressed, he was able to confirm his true feelings for her. Grandma Nagomi took the family to the mountain for her so-called health tourism as they arrived at the hot spring. Grandma Nagomi met up with her friend Grandma Sayuri, who was Mizuhara's grandmother, as they planned to celebrate their discharge from the hospital. Kazuya was busy stretching his neck like a giraffe as he looked for Mizuhara, scaring the family. The duo grandma set Kazuya and Mizuhara up, as they were placed in the same room. They went to meet their grandmother to complain about what they had done, but they didn't see the big issue because they were dating. They finally gave up since they didn't want to ruin the trip by announcing that they had never dated. Kazuya was thinking of getting another room, but he was broke, and Mizuhara said the same, but was surprised because, with the way she charged for her rental girlfriend service, she was meant to have a small fortune. He could not control himself as he was ogling at her and knew he was going to lose it if he spent the night with her. Mizuhara decided to enjoy her time there as her grandma spent a lot of money on the hot spring, and she also planned to tell them that they broke up to end their facade of a relationship because she wanted to get out of their awkward situation and had grown tired of his smelly face. As she went to the hot spring, she met Grandma Nagomi, who washed her body tenderly and informed Mizuhara that the purpose of their vacation was to honor her late spouse in addition to celebrating their discharge. It was a day she usually felt lonely, but at the moment she was living one of the happiest moments of her life. After listening to Grandma Nagomi, she was able to understand just how important their getaway was, and so she decided to cherish the time with her grandmother and make the most of it. Mizuhara asked Grandma Nagomi how she would feel if she found out she was lying about who she was the whole time, and Grandma Nagomi told her that even though she was an alien from another galaxy, she would still love her, which was obviously a lie. She came back to the room and told Kazuya she did not know how to get out of the mess they were in, so she chose to enjoy the moment while she still could. Kazuya could not help but stare at her while she ate, as he had fallen deeply for her and drank soy sauce by mistake, thinking it was soup. This cracked Mizuhara up. He had never seen her laugh like a normal person before and thought that he might have been a hindrance to her. He took a futon and wanted to go to the bathroom to sleep so she could have her privacy, but she wondered what the need was for that as they could sleep in the same room together. Kazuya's heart began to beat so fast as he wondered why she would allow him to sleep in the same room with her, and unnecessary fantasies clouded his head, which revealed his sus thoughts. But as she noticed it looked like he wanted to pounce on her, she came in with a drop kick that almost put his lights out. He wondered why she did that, and he told her he could feel his lust from a mile away and told him not to get the wrong idea as she allowed him to stay because she would feel bad if her client slept outside. She warned him that if he tried anything fishy, he would regret it, as she was well trained in self-defense. As the night progressed, he could not sleep as he wanted to know how she felt about him. So he asked her a dumb question, wondering why she would go to such lengths to save him even though he was a client, and she did not respond, prompting him to think she was asleep. He began to wonder why she would have learned the art of self-defense if not because she had had different encounters before. He also acknowledged how smart, courageous, and mature she was compared to him, and how much more of a man than he was. He asked her whether there was any need to tell their grandma that they broke up. Even though he felt bad lying to them, he felt something was changing in him, even though he had been a problem client, and felt the more he spent time with her, the more he would be able to grow. She agreed to allow him to rent her for a little while, as that was part of the goal of their agency, but still felt the family needed to know about the truth, and he was the only one who could do so by getting a real girlfriend. A few days later, he met up with his friends to let them know that he was still dating Mizuhara, and they were genuinely happy for them, even though some had a hint of envy for him. They went to the cafe, where they made some ground rules, letting him know she would charge him whenever she was acting as his girlfriend. She saw his phone with a cracked screen and wondered why he would walk around with his phone like that, making him look lame. She gave him the receipt for their time together, and he felt drained as she was running him dry. Mizuhara noticed he was looking down, and she asked what the matter was with him. He told her that with the way he was renting her, he was not sure he would be able to get a girlfriend, and she encouraged him and let him know it was not going to be easy and he had to stay positive as no girl would want to roll with a loser like him the way he currently was. So she suggested helping him look for a girlfriend while he rented her. He then asked if he could get a discount, and she brushed it off. When they came across Kiri, he suggested they had a double date as he had already gotten a girlfriend. Kazuya was shocked, as he felt he was not a ladies' man the same way he wasn't. As he was trying to figure out how Kiri got a girlfriend, he bumped into a girl which caused an awkward situation, so she stood up and then ran away. For their double date, they went bouldering, and when Kazuya saw Kiri's girlfriend, it turned out that it was the girl with the exposed panties. He was fawning over her, as she seemed pretty on the same level as Mizuhara, and this made Mizuhara mad at him. He showed them how to climb, looking like a pro, and Kazuya realized he brought them there to show off. Mizuhara gave it a try, and she was good at it. Kazuya tried, and he was so horrible, disgracing everyone there, though he was not the only one that was bad at it, as Ruka, Kiri's girlfriend, also sucked at it. Kazuya wanted to know his secret on how he was able to land a hot girl like Ruka, as they were nothing but hot. He told him that he needed to be manly and that he should not be conflicted about their masculinity, which he was. He realized that he was the total opposite of that and started feeling down, but Mizuhara came to cheer him up. Hearing those words from her made him want to try harder. Meanwhile, Ruka wanted to have a word with Mizuhara, and she asked Mizuhara bluntly if she was a rental girlfriend. She was surprised by the question, but composed herself as she denied knowing anything about it. But Ruka did not buy it. Mizuhara met up with Kazuya and told him about their current situation with Ruka, and he panicked because he felt Ruka could spread the truth about her being a rental girlfriend, which would cause a lot of trouble for them. Mizuhara went over to clear the air over her misunderstanding, but Ruka said she would believe they were real boyfriends and girlfriends if they could kiss. Mizuhara acted like she kissed him while using her hand to cover his face, and Ruka was not buying that. Kazuya came up with an excuse to allow Mizuhara to go home to reduce the chances of being caught. As they were done bouldering, Kazuya kept both Ruka and Kiri company, as he did not want her telling Kiri their secret. He escorted them until their last stop, where he broke their alone time together, and he followed Ruka as he wanted to find a way to keep her quiet, but his stupid act instead only confirmed her suspicions that Mizuhara was a rental girlfriend. Ruka had discovered Kazuya's secret, and he was overwhelmed with anxiety, desperate to keep this secret hidden, understanding the potential consequences if it got out. He tried to deny Ruka's accusations, but his flustered responses and actions only made him appear more guilty. As Ruka turned to leave, dismissing Kazuya's weak attempts at denial, he called out to her, asking her to wait. She warned him not to follow her, but in his desperation, he did, resulting in him grabbing her. Ruka was angry with his creepy act and left him, but he kept on following her, claiming he lived just around the corner. She told him that if he was worried about her revealing their secret, he shouldn't, as she only messed with them because she was told they were a tight couple, but it turned out she was just a rental. She wondered why he would go so far for Mizuhara when she was just a rental girlfriend, and he explained his situation to Mizuhara and begged her to record an oath in which she promised not to tell anyone. She refused and ran, but as a result, she tripped and fell down the stairs, but was saved by Kazuya as he acted as her knight in shining armor. She then told him that she was also a rental girlfriend. Later that day, Kazuya told Mizuhara that Ruka was a rental girlfriend, and Mizuhara was shocked by this revelation. She was angry with her, as they worked for the same agency, and she almost compromised her. She told Kazuya how important it is for her to keep her rental girlfriend job a secret from her grandma, so he told him to keep an eye on Ruka. The next day, Kazuya was having a meetup with Kiri, as he wanted to get information on when he would be meeting Ruka. He heard people talking about a girl in the background and wanted to know who they were talking about. It turned out to be Ruka as she came to see him. Kiri had arrived, and he knew if he saw him in a situation with Ruka, it would make him misunderstand, so he took her to a classroom to hide from him. But it was all in vain as Kiri found them. He tried to come up with an excuse for their situation, but then Ruka exposed Kiri's secret about renting her, and this broke him as he could not bear the embarrassment. He came to tell Mizuhara about what happened, as it could be a blessing since it would reduce the chances of them having an encounter with Ruka, but that was not happening anytime soon as she came over to Kazuya's apartment. She blackmailed him into going out with him for her to keep their secret as she revealed her motivations for uncovering Kazuya's secret. She admitted that she had feelings for him and was jealous of his relationship with Mizuhara, and he wondered if spring came early and was hesitant at first. But when he thought about it again, it wasn't such a bad idea. Mizuhara, as the only grown-up around, let her know that expressing her feelings like that would throw anyone off. That was when Ruka told her he had already embraced her before, so there was no way it was one-sided. Mizuhara was angry with Kazuya, as she did not expect him to be lower than scum, so he tried to explain that it was an accident. They entered Kazuya's room to resolve the issue, and Ruka was shocked as Mizuhara went into his room so casually, showing her preferential treatment towards Kazuya against her other clients and breaking one of the codes of their agency. Mizuhara asked Ruka to excuse them for a few minutes, but Ruka did not trust her as she viewed her as a rival, but she later agreed when Kazuya told her to give them a brief moment alone. Mizuhara asked him whether he was interested in Ruka, and he was not sure how he felt as it was the first time he had ever been asked out before, and she was cute to top it off. He also could not bring himself to go out with her, as he was aware of Kiri's feelings towards her. Mizuhara told him he shouldn't go out with her as she would keep blackmailing him if he did, and he was surprised as he thought she would want him to go out with her so they could finally end the lies they had been telling their families. She told him she did not want him to just go out with any girl, as that is not the way a relationship worked. He planned on sneaking out the back door to meet up with Kiri, as he felt concerned for him and wanted to also tell him his secret about Mizuhara being his rental girlfriend so that Ruka wouldn't be able to blackmail them. Ruka caught him sneaking out and chased after him. He then told her he couldn't go out with her as it would hurt Kiri's feelings, so he rejected her. Ruka made a scene as she cried, leaving Mizuhara with no choice but to tell Kazuya to go out with her, as she did not want Kiri to find out their secret. Ruka had a heart condition, and Kazuya was the first person to make her heart beat so quickly, making her feel more human, as she had always considered herself a robot. He told her to stop crying, and he agreed to go out with her. Kazuya-kun finally got a girlfriend, but it was not what he had imagined as he reflected on his involvement with Ruka, who had proposed a deal contingent on their dating. Despite Ruka's confession to him, he expressed his doubts about their relationship, as it seemed more of a provisional contract than an actual relationship, and was dissatisfied with the terms set by her, which included mandatory daily phone calls and social media interactions, as this arrangement caused him anxiety about his fake relationship with Mizuhara being exposed. He questioned his decisions and felt entrapped, describing his situation as dealing with a devil. Meanwhile, he hadn't seen Mizuhara since he started dating Ruka and felt more lonely than usual. Kazuya was angry as he wondered why Mizuhara would make him go out with Ruka after her lecture about how important love was, and he started to think maybe he saw her as a client all this time, which she had stated countless times. He decided to keep a distance between himself and Ruka as his college life seemed to be taking a turn for the worst. Unexpectedly, Ruka appeared on campus, leading to a tense encounter where Kazuya tried to prevent their situation from being discovered by Kiri. Ruka's presence and persistence exacerbated Kazuya's stress as he attempted to manage the complications arising from their arrangement. But she did not see it as a big deal as she was just a rental to Kiri. She respected his decision and chose not to come to campus again. Ruka clung to Kazuya as she proposed a movie date, and despite his reservations, he reluctantly agreed to it as it would put them at armrest in the meantime. Mizuhara watched them as they were acting all wishy-washy, as it seemed she was a little bothered by them. Her friends invited her over for Christmas, but she rejected the offer as she had plans and they were curious whether she had a boyfriend. Meanwhile, Kazuya remembered his last Christmas, which he spent alone, and wished he could spend it with Mizuhara. As Christmas approached, his plans and hopes were thwarted by Mizuhara's pre-existing bookings, deepening his sense of isolation as he contemplated her popularity and the mystery of her personal life. He wondered why she was working as a rental girlfriend, as he remembered her saying she was not making much from it and that her living in a rundown apartment was proof of it. He started to speculate whether she was secretly a sadist, but he soon accepted his fate of spending Christmas alone. He went out to make his year-end bills, which mostly went to Mizuhara, and saw how low his allowance was, signaling that he needed a job if he wanted to rent Mizuhara in the future, as that seemed like his utmost priority. He saw Mizuhara on the street, looking gorgeous as ever, while he hid like a stalker, watching her from a distance before she met up with a guy who he thought rented her, but then the idea of her having a real boyfriend crossed his mind. This realization disturbed him, causing him to question his naivety and the boundaries of their professional relationship. He followed them on their date, creeping everyone on the street, as he hoped that Yumi, the guy she was with, had rented her. But when they went to a movie theater, it felt unlikely, as it would be a waste of the time spent with the rental girlfriend. He had to book a ticket for the movie they were planning to watch to further investigate their relationship. As the movie ended, he could not seem to understand what he watched and questioned Mizuhara's taste in movies when she came out with Yumi, and they were in sync about the movie. He followed them throughout their date as they went to the bookstore, Fortune Edeler, and a gift shop where she bought a gift and had a smile he had never seen on her face before showing how much of a great time she was having without him. He decided to stop following them, as he had already seen enough and could not bear it any longer as he cried like a kid. He went to the restroom to wallow in his sorrows when he met Yumi, who was on a call, which seemed suspicious, and Kazuya thought he was taking advantage of her kindness, so he decided to stop him. He was contemplating on how he would break it to her that Yumi was plotting something, as he did not have the courage. But when it looked like she was about to kiss Yumi, the courage came out of nowhere. He told her Yumi was plotting something, and she could not understand what he meant. Then he exposed himself, revealing that he had been stalking them throughout the date and overheard their conversations. Yumi then cleared up the misunderstanding and told him it was a script, but Mizuhara stopped him as she did not want Kazuya to know she was an actress, but she made up her mind to tell him, which swept him away. Kazuya then asked about the call Yumi had in the restroom, and he told him he was just recommending her to a director. He felt bad, as he was completely wrong about the whole situation, and he realized how much of a fool he was. Mizuhara gave him a present and told him that it was the only free day she had to ask for a guy's opinion on a present to give him, as she got a phone case for his broken phone to apologize for putting him in a tough spot with Ruka. Bursting with emotions, he began to cry, as he had never received a present from a girl on Christmas before. Kazuya got a part-time job at a karaoke place as he had become broke from renting Mizuhara as his girlfriend. As he got home, he could not help but feel immense joy as he admired the gift Mizuhara got specifically for him, with the thought that he might be the only guy in history to get a gift from a rental girlfriend. Soon he realized he was deluding himself, as she had given other clients gifts. He was on a rental date with Mizuhara, and he tried to let her know it was not right for her to give her clients gifts as it would lead them on, and she made it clear it was something she had to do as a rental girlfriend. Kazuya panicked when Mizuhara questioned the authenticity of their relationship, as she asked him directly if he had fallen in love with her. Catching him off guard, he denied any romantic feelings, reaffirming that their relationship was purely for show to appease their grandmothers. Mizuhara insists on keeping things clean and strictly professional, emphasizing her role as a rental girlfriend and nothing more. Ruka found them and was angry at Kazuya for setting up a rental date with Mizuhara when she had him, so she dragged him and took him out on a date. As they were on their date, Kazuya was lost in thought, so she blindfolded him, leaving him bewildered as she took him for a ride. As they got to their destination and his blindfold was undone, he found himself in a love hotel and panicked as he tried to escape, but the door didn't seem to open. She demanded an explanation, as she knew something fishy was going on between him and Mizuhara, so he told her everything. When she learned what happened, she was annoyed with him, as it seemed dumb that they were keeping the secret, asking whether he planned to rent her till they got old. She told him to introduce her to his grandmother, as that would solve all his problems, but he told her it was more than that, as his grandmother had an abnormal obsession with Mizuhara. She told him that his grandma was probably looking for a successor, and she told him Mizuhara would not provide it for her, but she was willing to, as she wanted to go all the way with him. Kazuya ran to the restroom as it was getting too tempting for him. She saw a message from his phone, and she left. He was happy that she left, as he could not control himself anymore. As the new year arrived, Kazuya had to rent Mizuhara, as it would be weird if his girlfriend did not come over to see his family. As they met up, Ruka made a surprise visit, which shocked Mizuhara and Kazuya, as they were surprised at how she knew about their meeting. That was when Kazuya realized he had messed up again, as she must have seen the message from his phone. They felt overly cautious, as they were scared she could drop a bomb on them if she revealed their secret to the family. She introduced herself to the family and was acting overly familiar with them. Grandma Nagomi wanted to know how they got to know Ruka, and Kazuya told her she was Mizuhara's friend, but Ruka declared herself as Kazuya's girlfriend. This made Grandma Nagomi wonder if he was two-timing Mizuhara, as she was angry with him for cheating on Mizuhara. He then came up with a lame excuse that Ruka was a pathological liar, and his grandma bought it. Meanwhile, Mizuhara had a chat with Ruka, as she wanted to know what she was planning, and that was when Ruka told her she knew about their situation and asked whether she planned on keeping up with their relationship forever. Mizuhara told her it was not easy for them, but Ruka made it clear that she was just making up excuses, as it was better than continuously lying to their family every day. Ruka told her how serious she was about him, and if she did not harbor any romantic feelings toward him, she should back off. As they arrived at their table, Ruka continued to rant on, and the family just smiled at her like they were listening to a baby. She realized something was wrong, so she asked Kazuya to come out with her to get to the bottom of it. She then found out that Kazuya told his family she was a pathological liar, which made her feel sad because she just wanted to be his girlfriend, not for her image to be tarnished in their eyes. It was time to go to the shrine, and Grandma Nagomi and Ruka were nowhere to be found. This made Mizuhara and Kazuya panic, as they were scared she would tell Grandma Nagomi the truth about their relationship. Ruka finally got to be alone with Grandma Nagomi. As she wanted to tell the truth, a cloud of thought crossed her mind as she questioned whether she was in the wrong. And then Grandma Nagomi inquired about Mizuhara. From the way Grandma Nagomi talked about Mizuhara, she realized how much she cared about Mizuhara. Mizuhara found them and realized Ruka had not spilled the beans about their secret yet. After Kazuya thanked Ruka for not telling his grandmother the truth, Ruka promised to change his grandmother's mindset, and all she had to do was play the endurance game. Mizuhara then thought back to the conversation she had with Ruka, during which Ruka stated Mizuhara did not want her to steal Kazuya as she had romantic feelings for him. She also recalled her fortune, which predicted that she would fall in love. Ruka got a part-time job at Kazuya's workplace as she wanted to spend more time with Kazuya, and it was a Mizuhara free zone, so she had him all to herself. Kazuya was not okay with it, and she was already creating problems for him. His friend came in and made fun of him and his uniform, and he wished he could drop dead. As he brought his orders for his friends, Kaibe told him that Kiri had been acting strange for some time now and asked if he knew what was wrong with him. He denied it, even though he knew exactly what was wrong with him, so Kaibe told him to try and cheer Kiri up if he could. Kazuya spoke with Ruka and asked if she could apologize to Kiri, as he was down because of her. She did not want to do that, even though Kazuya insisted and made him aware that she had to do what she did to Kiri because she wanted to be with Kazuya. Ruka also revealed that if she met him outside work, she would be digging her grave, as she prompted him to forget about that and focus on a date with her to a new cafe spot she found. He finally got his paycheck, and the first thing he could think of was how to spend the money on Mizuhara, as he was already a lost soul. Then he remembered his friend, who was having a hard time, which was all his fault, as he bragged about Mizuhara making him want to have a girlfriend too. He was scared that his friend might remain a bachelor forever, and it would be all because of him. Kazuya got an idea of how to cheer him up as he met up with Mizuhara to ask for a favor. The next day, Kiri arrived, and Kazuya told him to meet up. He was skeptical if he had made a mistake as he wondered how he would face Kazuya after what happened, and the last thing he wanted was for Kazuya, who had a hot girlfriend, to cheer him up. He got cold feet and was about to leave when Mizuhara arrived and introduced herself as a rental girlfriend as she came over for their date. Kiri was confused as he heard that and thought they were messing with him, so he looked her up and found out it was true that she was a rental girlfriend, which made him realize that they were birds of the same feather. Mizuhara grabbed him and took him to an amusement park. But he could not understand what was going on as he felt her relationship with Kazuya seemed beyond that of a rental girlfriend and a client. He remembered when he risked his life on the ferry to save her life, and he could not get rid of the thought that this might be a setup, so he came up with an excuse to bail, but Mizuhara was good at that game as she made him reconsider leaving. They went to a horror room where she clung to him, and he could not control his thoughts. He made horrible jokes, but she laughed regardless, and he was having the time of his life as he spent time with her and experienced what it felt like to have a perfect girlfriend. He began to wallow in self-pity at his weak resolve as he wondered how he was having so much fun after everything he had said, and he questioned how despicable men were. But Mizuhara let him know it was okay for them to be the way they were. She admitted that the rental girlfriend could not provide what a real girlfriend could, but told him they were there to lend a helping hand. After experiencing all that, it made him want to have a girlfriend again as he thanked her for everything, for he knew she must have heard what happened between him and Ruka. He tried to pay but was told Kazuya, who watched them from behind a pole, had already paid for it. Mizuhara gave them some alone time, and Kazuya apologized for lying to Kiri about Mizuhara and told him he rented her because he was heartbroken by mommy. Kiri laughed at his situation and told him he was just glad he was still a virgin like him, as he knew something was off when he introduced a hottie like Mizuhara as his girlfriend. Kazuya also commented and told him that he lost faith in humanity when he brought a girl like Ruka. They began to compare each other and later laughed it off. Mizuhara was back, and they continued their date, but Kiri wanted to know if a rental girlfriend could fall for her client, and she gave a vague response. The next day, Kiri was back to his old self, and Kazuya was happy about it. Then he found a note where Mizuhara asked for a meetup by the balcony, and he went crazy with this development as he thought maybe she had fallen for him. He wore his best clothes and prepared as if his life depended on it. But when he arrived at the balcony, Mizuhara revealed that she wanted him to go on a date with one of her friends who worked in her rental girlfriend agency because most of her clients complained about her being too shy, and he was the only guy she could think of who she could practice with. She then told him not to hit on her, as she was aware of his previous experiences. Sakurasawa Sumi was a first-year college student who was the rental girlfriend Mizuhara asked Kazuya to practice with. She had a daily routine where she woke up 5 minutes before her alarm, walked her dog, and greeted the same old man on the street. She was an extremely shy girl who barely said a word, and whenever she got a booking, there was never any problem with her clients, but she hated herself as she acted way too timid. Mizuhara was someone she wanted to be like, as she was pretty and confident about her dreams. Kazuya arrived at the meeting point he was given by Mizuhara but could not find Sumi. Then he saw a girl hiding behind a pillar and assumed it had to be her, as she was as pretty as Mizuhara. He asked her whether she had spoken to Mizuhara, but she just nodded like she was a lizard, and Kazuya knew she was definitely beyond shy. He took the lead, telling her she did not need to be nervous when she was around him, and as they went by, Mami spotted him. He tried to make small talk between them, asking how long she had known Mizuhara, but she still did not say a word, and he began to think maybe she was mute. He then moved on to the practice and asked her to show him her smile, but as she did, it looked horrible, and she felt hurt by that as she gave it her all. As she could not smile or talk, he concluded that being a rental girlfriend might be the wrong choice for her. He was about to give up, but he realized Mizuhara had put her hopes on him, so he decided not to give up. He took her bowling as he thought a change of environment might help, so he told her to bowl first, and as she did, she fell, exposing her plots. He then realized that was the first time she had ever bowled. He had to ask why she took on the job as it was not a great fit for her, and then she began to play charades as she made him figure out she did it because she wanted to change herself. He wanted to help but did not know how to, so he went to get a drink for them and asked what she wanted, and yeah, she said nothing. As he got the drinks, he realized that Sumi was being hit on by a bunch of dudes and thought maybe they would leave with time, but that was not the case as they seemed more aggressive than he had thought. He then remembered that Mizuhara had made him responsible for her, so he saved her and took off as they badmouthed him. She finally spoke as she thanked him and apologized for what they said about him. He laughed, as he did not expect her first words to be an apology, and he told her not to read too much into what they said, as he was used to it, and they were just jealous. She then summoned the courage to hold hands with him as she improved her smile, which was still awkward, and Mami was in the background stalking them. He still hadn't gotten used to holding hands, as it made his heart race, so they took a break and got ice cream. Sumi tried to go on the offensive as she shared her ice cream with him. They tried different events, and she was horrible at all of them, but she was persistent. He caught a glimpse of her panties again and began to have a bloody nose, showing how much of a perv he was. He excused himself and cleaned up, but as he arrived, he saw Mami sitting next to Sumi, and his face froze like a JoJo character. Kazuya was wondering what she was doing there, and she told him she was hanging out with a friend when she spotted him. She introduced herself to Sumi, and Kazuya did not want Mami to think he was cheating on Mizuhara, so he tried to come up with an excuse when Sumi began to act like a girlfriend at the worst time possible. Mami asked for a few minutes of Kazuya's time, and she wondered how much he had changed as he kept jumping from one baby to the next. As the night came to an end and it was time to end the date with Sumi, she thanked him, and he advised her not to push herself too much and to enjoy it. Sumi told Mizuhara how great the date went and all the feats he had achieved, and Mizuhara was glad she had a great time. She wondered why she was so fixated on him and why a hot girl like him would choose a guy like him, and out of curiosity, she searched on Sumi online and found out she was a rental girlfriend. As he got home, he was expecting a message like the previous one he had from Mizuhara, as he had not heard from her since he went on that date with Sumi. When she arrived home, she thanked him for what he did, as Sumi had a great time. Then she told him she was going to quit her rental job as soon as she landed a role in the play Yumi told him about, and he felt sad as it meant his time with Mizuhara was coming to an end. The next morning, Mizuhara arrived at her meetup for her rental and found out her date was none other than Mami. Kazuya could not help but think about what Mizuhara said about quitting her rental girlfriend's job, so he decided to move on as he accepted a date with Ruka. They went clothes shopping, and she looked gorgeous in what she wore. Kazuya ruined the mood as he brought up Mizuhara, and he tried to apologize to her, but she understood that he liked Mizuhara and did not want to force him to love him but wanted him to fall in love with her. He realized how lucky he was that a girl like Ruka, who had the complete package, liked him and wondered what else he was looking for. As they went to work, some guys tried to ask her out, but she turned them down as she had a boyfriend. Kazuya was about to make his relationship with Ruka official when he noticed Mami passing by with Mizuhara in the karaoke. Mami brought out an envelope with money to pay for her service, and although Mizuhara rejected it, she forced her to take it as she put it in her bag. She then asked what song she sang on her rental date, and Mizuhara told her it depended on her clients. So Mami asked what song she would sing if her client was someone like Kazuya, and she told her she would sing Peggy's or Halka. She told her to sing for her, and Mizuhara wanted to know what she wanted as it had to be something beyond singing. But Mami only wanted her to sing as she intimidated her. Kazuya was surprised to see them together and knew they did not have each other's contacts. His great perception made him unsolve the mystery of their meetup, as Mami might have felt suspicious after her encounter with Sumi and had figured out Mizuhara was a rental girlfriend. Ruka then came over, and his heart almost left his chest as she asked whether someone he knew was in the room, which he rejected, telling her they needed to get back to work before their boss caught them. He was able to sneak the door open a little, where he was able to hear them and confirm his suspicion when he heard Mizuhara talk about money. Soon after, they left the karaoke shop, and Kazuya wanted to follow them but was working, so he had to figure a way out to get an excuse. That was when he acted like he was sick as he threw up like a pregnant woman. He also followed them, as it seemed this had become one of his strong skills. He was angry that Mami found out about her secret, as she was about to just quit her rental job, and he blamed himself for everything that happened. Mami apologized for her surprise meeting and told her she would keep it a secret for her as she was about to leave. But as she thought Kazuya still had feelings for Mami, she wanted to know her feelings towards him, but she dodged the question and asked Mizuhara the same question as she had been on several rental dates with him for the past year and felt she could have fallen for him within that period. She still pressed on as she wanted to get a response from Mami, but Mami got pissed as it was something between her and Kazuya and she had no place there. Kazuya began to cry, as she had already done more than enough for him that he could never repay. Feeling overwhelmed with emotions, Kazuya realized that it was time to move on from his unrequited love for Mami and focus on the genuine connection he had with Mizuhara. As he wiped away his tears, he made a decision to cherish the meaningful relationship he had with Mizuhara and let go of the past. As Mizuhara arrived home, he thanked her for everything and told her he saw both of them at the karaoke shop. Mizuhara apologized for not finding a girlfriend for him, and this got him angry as she had done so much for him that he could not bear to see her apologize. Kazuya confessed to Mizuhara that she was the one he wanted, unable to control his conflicting emotions. Mizuhara wanted to clarify what he meant, and he told her he wanted her as a rental girlfriend and ran away as he could not bear the embarrassment. Mizuhara entered her apartment and was shocked to hear what he said as she blushed. Would you rent a girlfriend if you get the opportunity? Let us know in the comment section and don't forget to subscribe for more interesting recaps.